Hello and welcome, storytellers. I am artist and writer Lex Lank, and this is Creator's Cut, where I chronicle my continuing creative journey. Today I'm going to be talking about 3 of my favorite things from my current work in progress. So, as you might have guessed from my decor, it is almost Valentine's Day where I am at in the US, and so I kind of wanted to do a little bit of Valentine's themed video talking about my favorite things from my current project, my most beloved things, I guess you could say. I was originally going to go with 5 things, but I feel like I could probably be here talking about this all day, so we're just going to go with 3 and not take up hours and hours and hours talking about how much I love this particular story. So if you are new here, I'm going to be talking about my current work in progress. It is a fantasy novel and the beginning of a fantasy series. If you want to know a little bit more about the project in depth, I actually talked about it in Creator's Cut episode 2, so you can refer back to that. I'll put it in the description so you can just, watch and kind of get more of the backstory of this story and what's going on with it. But basically, I am working on the edit for the story, and it is fantasy, and it includes mages and vampires, and it's kind of inspired by my love of like traditional fantasy, but also anime and manga, and just it's a combination of a lot of things. There's fight scenes and there's a little bit of romance, but not like a ton, not the whole thing, but like there's action scenes, there's a cool magic system, I'm gonna start rambling. There's so many things I love about this story. And I have been working on it for quite some time, so I am happy to continue to be working on it and getting closer to querying and publication and whatnot. Also, side note, if you're new again, and sorry for anyone if this is a recap, but I am also working on illustrations for it and a script for a film and/or series adaptation. So lots of work in this project. But I'm going to be talking about, again, my favorite things from this fantasy story today, and I am going to be revealing the acronym for the title for this book, because I'm hush-hush about the title right now because, it's spoilers, but the acronym for this book is actually OMV, and that's OMV, not OMG. So have fun trying to figure out what the actual title is, but again, I'm not really saying right now because I haven't queried yet, and, it's not on the publishing roster yet, so I'm just a little secretive about it. But here are my top 3 favorite things that I love about OMV. Okay, so number 1. I decided to break this list up a little bit more, not so much as not theme, but kind of like ideas. Not so much like, oh, I love the characters, oh, I love the setting, oh, I love, these things. Of course I do, but I felt like that was slightly generic, so I tried to think of something a little bit more pinpointed. And so that this list is going to be a little bit more pinpointed. Yes, it does go into setting and it does go into characters and whatnot, but I'm trying to be a little more specific here. So the first thing on my list is that I love the North. And I as a writer, really love talking about seasons and places. And one of my favorite things about seasons is kind of like the feeling that you get with each season and sort of what it brings to the table. My personal favorite season is winter, and I know a lot of people don't like winter, so I'm kind of like the oddball there, but I happen to really love winter. My favorite aesthetic and my favorite landscape is where you have the barren trees and the snow and the glittering frost and the little birds huddled in the trees trying to keep warm. I love that aesthetic. I love the look of it. Where I live, it doesn't get super, super cold, so I don't have, snowstorms or anything here. But I really love the look of that. And so I kind of focus on seasons a little bit in all of my books just to bring that, flavor into the story and have it serve as a backdrop. Something that they talk a lot about in film is having the actual setting be a character. We talk about that in books too, but I see it more in film. And so studying film more as I have been working on this project, I kind of wanted to bring that to the book as well, to have like the setting in the actual area and the season in this case be a character. So this story takes place in the North. It is alternate world, so not here, not our North, but same idea. It's cold, it's very winterly looking, and I had a lot of fun playing with that. The actual area where it's at is very, very snowy, very winter themed, you could say, even though the actual story doesn't take place in winter. Winter plays a big part in it, but it doesn't take place. It's kind of looking forward to winter. I will, again, without giving anything away, but winter plays a role, but it doesn't actually take place in winter. But I wanted to include the winter aesthetic. I wanted to include the very like snow, cold, that whole aesthetic. And I really enjoyed putting that together, not just the look of the place and also doing illustrations. I actually really like drawing snow. That might sound kind of strange because it's kind of a little simplistic compared to other things, but I think it's a lot of fun to draw. So I've had a lot of fun with that, and just thinking about like, what would these characters wear and what would they eat, and how many. I drew multiple cultures from our world were as inspiration for this story. So kind of putting it together, like, how do you put together these cultures? How would they operate in, this weather? What would everything look like? Just how does the North work? When is it light outside? When is it dark outside? What do the seasons look like? All of these things. All these things are things I thought about for this story, whether they actually ended up in the book or not. And it was just kind of fun. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the setting. I can't wait, for down the road, making it into, a film, or just even seeing the illustrations finished, and kind of the look of this place I think is really fun. And so that's my first thing that I've really enjoyed about this particular project and putting it together. So number 2, characters. Again, not, more specific than just characters, but characters. I really enjoy my characters. I love crafting characters. I love getting to know characters, kind of like you get to know a person, you meet someone. I think I've mentioned this before, but bear with me. I think of characters as people, not literally, obviously, because they're fictional, but I kind of think of it as you meet a person and you start talking to them and you spend time with them and you get to know them. The character is very much the same. Through multiple drafts that I write, I get to know more about my characters and what they like, what they dislike, all those things. But by the time I get to a working draft, which is where I'm at now, and doing the edit, I really feel like I get to know these people, and not just, like how they would react in a situation, which is very important, but kind of what they represent. And for me as a writer, that's something that's fun to explore, and even fun to realize how they represent me as the writer. A common thought is that every character is some part of the writer, and I absolutely agree with that. I'm not saying that every character that a writer creates is a self-insert, because that's not always the case. Sometimes it is, and that's fine. But I think more often than not, it's just the character just reflects some part of the writer, whether it's something small like, a question they had, or how they feel about something, or something they're curious about. What would this type of character be like? I'm really curious what this type of character would be like. And then you suddenly, you write that type of character, and it isn't necessarily reflecting you as your own thoughts and beliefs, but the character is reflecting a curiosity of yours. And I think that's a lot of fun. In the case of my story, I have 2 main characters, 2 protagonists, and one, of course, is slightly more of a protagonist than the other, but they're basically 2 protagonists. And one of the characters I actually realized recently when I was writing, it was a harder scene. It takes place closer to the beginning of the book, and I went back and edited it, and I realized when I was going through this that, oh, this character represents like my personal anger. I hadn't really thought of that as like the representation before, but I realized that when I was working on this particular part, yeah, this character represents my anger. And obviously it's more complicated than that, which when I texted Kat and told her, hey, this character represents my anger, I didn't know that before. She's like, yes, but also more complicated. She was absolutely correct. But in this case, in this particular scene, and even just this character in general, I realized, yeah, she does represent, my anger. But I've always been a person that's kind of had a little bit of trouble with anger, not necessarily like lashing out at people, not the anger that like displays itself and, you get mad at people, just that deep-seated anger kind of at situations and, the frustration that kind of just like boils inside of you sometimes. I've always had trouble with that. I've been through a lot of things in life that have been particularly frustrating, especially some medical things, and just sometimes you have that really deep anger that you can't do anything with, you can't even really express, it's just there. And until you really know how to deal with it, it can be, and even after you learn how to deal with it, it can be very frustrating, and it can kind of eat away at you. And that was something I struggled with a lot, growing up especially. And so this character is definitely dealing with some inner anger in this part of the story that I was working on. And so I felt like I really related to that, even though I hate that for her. And, I remember having a lot of issue with it, again, when I was younger and kind of didn't know how to deal with this frustrative anger, I guess you could say, almost righteous anger. I didn't really know what to do with it, and I feel like at this point she kind of almost doesn't know what to do with it. That changes throughout the story, but it is something that the character is dealing with that I've dealt with before. And so I kind of have this, as a writer, I enjoy this connection with the characters, however deep it ends up being. And this character, I feel like it's a little deeper. And the other character that I also realized, oh, hey, this person represents something too, is like more like me in personality, a lot really, but like, again, not a self-insert, just very much like me. So it's been really interesting to work with these characters and help them through their trauma, I guess you could say, and kind of help myself a little bit too. I think that's a common thing in writing. You discover more about yourself as you're going through the creative process, whether it's writing or drawing or anything else. Just you discover more about yourself and about how you see the world, and things that you're dealing with or you have dealt with come through in your art. And I think that's one of the great things about art that connects everyone and makes us all more empathetic in the end. So the third thing, the last thing, I haven't taken up hours. I tried really hard not to take up hours in talking about this story, because I could. But the third thing is the connection between this story and the other stories in this series. And again, if you've watched episode 2 of Creator's Cut, when I went into a little bit more about this book and the series and the past of it and all of that, you will know that this story connects to the other stories in the series, not just because chronological order, but it's almost like a cinematic universe sort of thing, where like all the stories kind of, or two storylines mainly, intersect. And that's been a lot of fun to write, finding ways to make this sort of cinematic book and or future not book cinematic universe sort of thing, come together. This multi-planed story, we'll put it that way. I haven't come up with a term for that yet. I'm sure there's one and I'm just not thinking of it off the top of my head. But I've had a lot of fun putting all these pieces together. So that is honestly my third favorite thing, and my first favorite thing. I should have said I was counting down. I'm cutting it down. Oh boy. You're welcome. That is my first and foremost favorite thing about this story, is that they all connect, and this series connects, but slight spoiler. There are characters that appear briefly, that appear in this story, that appear in the next story, the secondary story that, the story this story is connected to. And I think that's honestly my favorite thing about it, is kind of like setting up for the next story, but also setting up for the character that I would consider is the main series protagonist, like all the way around through all the stories. You know, like obviously I said there's, you know, the two intersecting stories, and there are two intersecting worlds. So you have the protagonists over here for OMV, and then you have the protagonist for HHS over here. But if I had to pick a protagonist, because, you know, usually they want you to say like, this is the protagonist right here, this person, it would definitely be the character from HHS, who does make a appearance in the OMV. There's definitely some connection between the two, not just name dropping. You know, I'm not just, you know, Marvel name dropping of like, oh yeah, that guy with the hammer, you know, we've heard of him. We might see him at some point, or, you know, like Thor was the first one I think of. My mom likes Thor, has ever since she was small, and, you know, comics and all that. But yeah, it's not just name dropping. So that's been fun. So I've gotten to actually pull, you know, again, this particular character, the ultimate series protagonist, into this story, and I've really enjoyed that because I just adore him. He's my favorite. He's my baby. I mean, they're all my babies, but he's my baby. He's my boy. He's best boy. So yeah, I've been able to pull him into this story. So even when I can't technically write his story, I'm not actually physically writing about him, I still get to interact with him, you know, still get to spend time with my baby, so to speak. And I think that's honestly my favorite thing about this story. Just the interconnectivity. I've had a lot of fun setting it up in a way that it's, you know, seamless, and it really fits, and the stories really go together without it feeling overwhelming, which was honestly a challenge originally when I was putting the story together, and even just thinking, okay, what pieces do I need to put in this first book, you know, to go to the next book, so that you already kind of feel like you know these people, or at least know about them, and you're curious, you know. So when you do meet my baby, that you're like, oh, yay, I was waiting to find out about you. There you are. I'm so excited, you know, like I wanted readers to be excited as I am, because, well, you're gonna love him, I promise. He's great. So it was a challenge putting it together, and just, you know, all the little pieces to make it seamless. I think it's cool. I think it's a lot of fun to intersect the stories, and so that's actually been my favorite part of this story, and just, you know, introducing the characters and kind of their relationships to each other, because since the stories are interconnected, the characters do have some form of relationship with each other. And again, I don't want to go into spoilers here, so sorry, you're just going to have to wait and see what that looks like on paper and etc. But there are definitely connections, and that's been my favorite thing about this story and writing it, and just seeing how it actually unfolds and how they actually connect in real time, so to speak. Real story time. So that's been a lot of fun. And I cannot wait for you to meet Z. We're going to call him Z. That's the first letter in his name. So I can't wait for you to meet him and everyone else. I can't wait. I'm working hard. Working hard. So those are my top 3 favorite things about OMV, and I hope you enjoyed hearing about them. I am still working on the edits. Actually, a side note for what else is going on in the writing, the Lex writing world. Still working on the edit. It's going really well. I'm really excited about it. So just general update. I am excited about it. It's been going well. I definitely have been able to take out a lot more than I thought I was going to, but it's still like, it's good. It's good. It needed to go out. But then I've been able to add some things too that I was excited about, and everything's just coming together really well. So I am very happy with it. Still working on it. On my some off hours, I've been watching the winter season of anime. Like, I've really enjoyed Sentenced to be a Hero. I was like trying to spit that name out. I've enjoyed that one so far. That one's been fun. That's another new one that I've been watching. I like the storyline. I like the art. I think the art is very interesting for that one. A lot of interesting art styles for this season. So I've enjoyed seeing the different styles, which I always do, but, you know, I feel like they've been particularly different this season. And Valentine's Day is coming up, as I said, so happy Valentine's to anyone who celebrates, and I hope you have a good day on that day, and definitely eat some good chocolate. I personally prefer truffles or dark chocolate. Love chocolate. Chocolate's good. But if you don't like chocolate, treat yourself to something. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed hearing about my favorite things from this particular story. If you're working on a project and want to share your 3 favorite things too, please do. Or if you're not working on a project and you have a particular story that you love and just, you know, your top 3 favorite things from that story that you think are so cool, feel free to share those too. I'd love to hear it and see what everyone is enjoying from the different stories that they're working on and or reading and or watching. So definitely leave a comment in the comment box if you'd like. And thank you so much for watching again, and I will see you all next time with another update. Until then, bye! And so you have, you know, the protagonist from this world OMV world, and then the protagonist from, what was the acronym for that? Acronym. What are you, acronym? Why can I not think of acronyms today? Jeez, I should know this. I've been calling the one OMV for so long, and then the other one I just like, that one. You know which one I'm talking about, Kat, don't you? Yes, you do. Because I usually talk to Kat about this because Kat knows everything. Hi, Kat. Thanks for watching. Acronym. Yes, I've got it. HFS. HFS. That's the second story. We got the acronym now. Yes. Okay, good. This is the main characters for OMV over here, and this is, you know, the main characters for HFS. That's going to be hard to just spit out. I haven't been spitting that out as long. But for HFS, there we go. No. HHS. I'm sorry. It's HHS. Never mind. Never mind. I promise I know what my stories are called. I do. I promise.